All right, the Krug Show. John Lynch just spoke. Let's talk about it right now. Off and running Thursday morning on the Krug Show. John Lynch just spoke on KMBR. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them Krug sent you. We're going to be out there for a meet and greet on December 7th. During the bye week. Join us at Pig and a Pickle in Corte Madera. I'll be there all day watching football, eating barbecue, hanging out, talking to fans of the Krug Show. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. If you can make it, we may even have a little gift prize to give away to whoever comes from the greatest distance. But join us December 7th, the bye week, for a little meet and greet at Pig and a Pickle in Corte Madera. All right, let's talk a little bit about John Lynch. He was on with Murph and Marcus today on the KMBR morning show in his regular spot. And the boys had Joe Banner on earlier in the show. And I guess Joe Banner, longtime executive with the Eagles, and he's outspoken. I think he's working for the 33rd team or something like that now. And he came on the morning show before. And the first question was, hey, Joe Banner says pass rush is the number one key to winning the Super Bowl. Do you agree? Do you agree? And John said, hey, look, the pass rush is the great equalizer. And John Lynch played as a defensive back, so nobody should know better than him that if you don't get it done up front, no defensive back in the world can stand up to no pass rush. And that's where the Niners are at right now. They don't have a lot of pass rush. They have Huff, but there's no Bosa, no Mikael Williams. They're put very little heat on Stafford. They're going to have to dial up pressure. They did it last week. 54% blitz rate for Robert Saleh. Highest in his tenure here. Highest in San Francisco, I believe, since like 2016. That's pre-Shanahan and Lynch. So they've never blitzed more than they blitzed last week, and Lynch called the pass rush the great equalizer. It's interesting, though. I mean, for a guy who thinks it's the great equalizer, he didn't, outside of Keon White and Cleveland Farrell, he didn't get in a lot for the Niners to equalize. They're pretty barren. They're going with Robert Beal. I mean, Robert Beal is a bust and wasn't much of a prospect ever, really. And yet they're going with him. They're trying to make it work. They're pleading with him. Rob. It ain't in there. He's big, he's fast, but he can't play. At least that's what the results have said. I'm a results guy. We can talk about prospects and we can talk about height, weight, and speed. And that's great in the draft, but that goes by the wayside after about the mini camp. Then it's like, hey, can you play? And this guy has not been able to sack the quarterback. He's a good special teamer. He's a great athlete, but he's just not a great football player. So they need help bad, and they didn't get any. So that's kind of the predicament they're in. So I thought it was interesting that John's like, yeah, the D-line's the great equalizer. If it's so important, then how come you guys didn't get anybody at the trade deadline when you desperately needed somebody? And now you have to go the rest of the year trying to not have your young DBs just totally get eviscerated and lose their confidence. And, it's a nightmare situation. It's a rush and cover game. They got no rush. And it's a weird combination. I mean, the 49ers, they Brock Purdy coming back on offense. They're trying to score more points. They're trying to, show that they got something. But then look at the defense. I mean, can you have a worse equation than the 49ers equation right now on defense? No pass rush, super young secondary, and a banged up linebacking core. What it equates to is Stafford just hung half 100 on you almost. And what it equates to is that bad offensive teams like Houston look bad against Seattle and good against you. And I get the feeling that Jacoby Brissett is going to be the next guy to look bad against Seattle and good against the Niners. I hope I'm wrong. But I expect Brissett and the Cardinals to play well, even without Marvin Harrison, even without Zay Jones. Even with just Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, and Trey McBride, you sit there and go, oh, well, the Cardinals are decimated. Trey McBride is better than Dalton Schultz. And I think Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll are probably not as good as Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. So before you start saying, yeah, bring on the Cardinals, just get ready, because there's a very good chance that if the Niners produce the same kind of rush in this game against the Cardinals they did against the Rams, they're going to get beat. They're going to get beat by Jacoby Brissett and these backup receivers. So you've been warned. You've been so warned. And then they mentioned, hey, you guys have lost some defensive linemen, and there's just no question about that. They've lost some rush. Then they also talked about how Joe Banner talked about the importance of the offensive line. And they asked him, hey, what's the deal at left guard? And he said, hey, look, Burford and Bart shared snaps there last week at left guard, and it sounds like the plan is to stay with the same thing. So maybe a combo of Barch and Burford at left guard the rest of the way. I've never really liked that idea of sharing offensive line spots, but if they feel like that's what's going to do them best, and then we'll see how it shakes out. But that's what it sounded like. It sounded like Burford and Barch shared snaps in the Ram game and will share snaps in the Cardinal game. As far as, Murph was like, hey, man, is this kind of where it's at? Is this kind of what it is? You don't have, you're decimated. You guys got beat pretty bad last week. And John's like, hey, look, we didn't play up to our standard against LA. We have to learn from that. I guess I'd want to hear him expand on that. I mean, what do you mean you didn't play up to your standard? I mean, they're better than you. You couldn't stop them ever. They stopped you a few times. They scored 40, you scored 20. To me, I think, it's good to have standards, but it's not good to have unrealistic expectations. It's good to have hope, but it's bad to think that Luke Gifford can cover receivers down the field. It's good to have belief, but when that results in Robert Beals, your full-time starting defensive end, you got problems. So I don't know that the Niners didn't play up to their standard. The results weren't to their standard. I mean, they let their division rival basically drive up and down the field on them all day. But I mean, your standard is about your players. You don't have good enough players. So I get your standard when it's Fred Warner. I get your standard when it's Nick Bosa, but when it's not Fred Warner and it's Luke Gifford, what are you going to say about your standard? Did Luke Gifford not play up to your standard, or is Luke Gifford not a good enough player? Luke Gifford's not a good enough player. He can't cover. You have nobody who's giving you any pass rush. Is that about your standard? Or, I mean, I get it if you had a bunch of guys dogging it or a bunch of guys not playing hard or whatever, but, I don't think that happened. I think you guys played hard. They're just not good. I mean, you have safeties that can't cover. You got linebackers who are beat up. You've got linebackers who fall off blocks. You got D linemen that don't rush the passer. Standard, whatever. I mean, you can talk about whatever you want. It's a rush and cover game, and you can't rush and you can't cover, and your linebackers are hurt. So, you needed help on defense. You didn't get it. He said, hey, we got to learn. We got to learn from that. We didn't play to our standard. All right. What did you learn? I learned that Luke Gifford can't cover and that your players aren't good enough. If you learn that they didn't give effort, then maybe that you got a story there. I thought they played with good effort. I just don't think they're good. So I don't think, the follow-up is, hey, you didn't play to your standard, but now that you're so depleted, do you think playing to your standard is even possible? Because it doesn't seem like it. So that was one of the topics of conversation. And then they peppered him with the quarterback question. Hey, do you stay with the hot hand and Mac Jones? Tom Brady says, ride with the hot hand. Richard Sherman says, ride with the hot hand. What are you going to ride with the hot hand? And, Lynch is savvy at this point. He dodged. He said, we're fortunate to have a good quarterback room. He's like, Mac's going 5-3. It's Brock's team. When Brock's ready, he's going to go back as the starter. And they've determined he's ready. Doesn't mean they're right. They determined he was ready to come back against Jacksonville, and he clearly was not ready. The guy that I'm seeing at practice looks only marginally better than the Brock that I saw earlier this year where he couldn't go against Jacksonville. The release point is more in check now. He's got his ball is a little bit more accurate than it was a few weeks ago. So maybe he's learned to throw around the pain. But then if you look at his mechanics are totally shot. He's not throwing up. He's not planting off his back foot. He's trying to zing everything. He's got no arm strength. The mobility, we'll see. I mean, he was trying to run fast on it, but you can tell he's pained when he runs. So how long can he keep running away without, before suddenly the pain overwhelms him? As I said, I tell you the truth. I was there at practice. His accuracy is better. His release point is better, but his lower body mechanics are a circus. They are a total and utter mess. And you can see it. I mean, it's like if you watch the quarterbacks, go watch the film from yesterday's practice. Go on Twitter, go look, or YouTube. Look at what we put out there. Look at what other people put out there that were at practice. Look at his lower body mechanics and look at the other quarterbacks' lower body mechanics. Not the same. It's not the same. You have to have a strong base. He doesn't have a strong base because he can't really plant that right leg because that right toe is so painful. It's smarting so much that he really can't plant. And so he's kind of slinging it. He's just kind of slinging it. And the ball that he throws to the sideline is loopy and has nothing on it. So any kind of deep out, good luck. I mean, guys are going to jump those passes. There's going to be interceptions. Obviously, there's rust. Rust is rust, and he'll shake off the rust. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm happy for him that he feels good enough to get back out there. I'm happy for the Niners that the guy that they paid the big money is going to be out on the field, it sounds like, this week. But my expectations are not high. One, he doesn't have receivers that can separate down the field. Pearsall's coming back this week. We'll talk about that next. But not a lot of separation, not a lot of protection. Mac Jones has not been sacked a lot behind this bad line. Why? Because he gets rid of the ball. The ball comes out. Brock holds the ball. So Brock is probably going to take a few more sacks. And then we'll see if turf toe's even his primary injury, coming out of this game. So I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst. To me, the arm strength isn't there. I watch this guy every day in the summer. Every single day at practice, zipping it to the sideline, deep balls down the field, 45 yards down the field to Jordan Watkins, to Demarcus Robinson, to George Kittle. He was having a phenomenal camp. He looked phenomenal. Now he looks sore. When he runs, he looks like he's in pain. And when he throws, he looks like he's in so much pain that he can't plant the right foot. And he's got no base. So the arm strength isn't there. I'd be very surprised if he throws the ball effectively down the field or to the sidelines outside the numbers. It's loopy. The ball is getting there, but it's getting there and it's not getting there on a line. It's getting there in a loop. It's dropping down to the receiver. He's not zipping it to the corner, to the perimeter like he did this summer. Like he's done since he's been here. That zip to the perimeter, I'm not seeing that at practice. Now, we're not getting a lot of look at practice, but I can see enough. I can see enough to show me what he looks like. And he's moving, I would say, a little bit better than he was a few weeks ago, but he still looks like he's in pain. And it's still, that first step is not quick. It's like, let's ease into it. He doesn't have that quick electric first step that he had before. that 1-4-5-4 10-yard split, that escapability doesn't look the same. And then the arm accuracy looked bad early, but now it looks good. But the arm strength is not there. And it's all tied to the mechanics. And any quarterback coach, get a high school quarterback coach, get a college quarterback coach, get a junior college quarterback coach, and have them look at that film of Brock throwing in practice, and they'll say, "Oh, no, not using that right leg, not planting that right leg. Doesn't have confidence to plant the right leg, doesn't drive the ball down the field, is just kind of looping it and zinging it, and almost a little bit lower." To me, it looks like a little bit lower arm angle and a lot less velocity on the ball. The accuracy seems okay, but the arm strength does not. So that's what I see. We'll see what we see on Sunday. But people say, do you expect him to go? Yeah, I do expect him to go. I expect him to go because the 49ers, one of the things they think is an issue is that they have no downfield passing attack, and that Brock's going to provide that. But you got to have the line to protect, and you got to have the receivers to separate. You got to have the quarterback who can throw the ball. Healthy Brock can make that throw. The Brock that I'm seeing right now, I don't think so. I really don't think so. So it's going to be a very interesting Sunday against the Cardinals for sure. Video sponsored by our friends at Mint Mobile, the smarter way to save on wireless without giving up quality. So here's the deal. Mint has completely reimagined how wireless works. Everything's easy and online. No stores, no salespeople, no upsells. You sign up, activate right from your couch, and boom, premium wireless on the nation's largest 5G network. They've got unlimited talk and text, free calling to Mexico, Canada, and the UK, and even hotspots included. That's 10 gigs on their unlimited plan. And here's what really sets Mint apart: the bulk savings model. You can buy 3, 6, or 12 months at once and lock in an incredible rate. Plans start at 5 gigabyte, 15 gigabyte, 20 gigabyte, or go unlimited. Whatever fits your lifestyle best. I switched over myself, and it was crazy easy. I kept my phone, my number, all my contacts. It took minutes. That's right. And right now, for the holidays, you can save 50% off an unlimited premium wireless plan from Mint. Lock in Mint's lowest price of the year and pay $15 a month for 3, 6, or 12-month plans. That's right. $15 a month for premium wireless. Support the show and make the switch today at mintmobile.com. Lynch talked about Ricky Pearsall. He was asked about Pearsall, and he said, "Hey, man, I expect Pearsall to play on Sunday. He said the PCL injury has lingered, and another kind of, this is the theme of the week. This is a receiver. The Niners don't have speed at receiver, but this guy does have speed. He's got 4.41 speed." And Lynch is like, "Hey, man, he gives us speed. He gives us vertical ability. I mean, he's going to play against Arizona. He hasn't played in 6 weeks. We're going to find out what it looks like. But expect to see Ricky Pearsall out there. And this is part of the plan. Like, let's go down the field. Let's throw the ball down the field." And, Pearsall returns right as Purdy's returning. And I expect them to try to throw the ball down the field to Pearsall a couple times in this game. John was asked about Brandon Aiyuk. He said, are you going to redshirt him? Are you just going to sit him out? It's getting late in the year. All this talk about week 1, and then, it's going to be middle of the year, and then it's going to be, beginning of November, and now it's mid-November, and pretty soon it's going to be Thanksgiving, and then it's going to be Christmas. It's like, what about Brandon Aiyuk? And he's like, "Hey, our intention is to get him on the field this season, but we're not there yet." So he called the injury catastrophic a few weeks ago, and now he says, "Hey, they're not there yet." My guess is, somewhere in mid-December, probably about, 3-4 weeks from now, they'll open his practice window, and maybe he'll get out there for a game at the end of the year. And then I think they'll probably trade him in the offseason. And I think so if you're going to trade him in the offseason, and that's the plan, and I think it is, I think you got to spot him, right? You got to spot him. So they're going to spot him probably at the end of the year and let everybody see that he's healthy so they can trade him. But I do think Aiyuk is going to be traded in the offseason. I think there's too much smoke about that. Too much, the vibe's weird. They seem cold to him. He seems cold to them. That's not the kind of behavior that typically a guy who just signed a big money long-term extension with a team. That's not the typical, relationship. Usually it's like, "Hey, man, we're in the honeymoon phase. He loves us. We love him. We paid him. He's glad to be paid." everybody's hunky-dory, everything's great, but that's not the vibe. The vibe is like, he's being professional, they're being professional, but I don't think either side is long to keep one another. I think he's going to get healthy. They're going to spot him. They're going to trade him. That would be my guess. If I had to bet on that, that's what I would bet. Then the guys asked John, hey, man, is Purdy getting disrespected by the people who were saying, hey, stay with Jones, ride with the hot hand? And who was saying it? It was guys like Tom Brady and Richard Sherman. And what, is John Lynch going to go against the greatest quarterback of all time? Is he going to go against Richard Sherman? No, he's like, hey, look, those guys have their opinions. We're certainly not listening to their opinions. We have our own processes and we're our own deal. So he made it perfectly clear, like, we hear the Bradys and the Shermans and the people that are saying stick with Jones, but we're not listening to them. And then he said, hey, we're really glad to have a strong quarterback room. And then he went on to kind of pump up Adrian Martinez. He's like, we really like Adrian Martinez and Curtis Rourke too. So, I like Adrian Martinez too. I mean, he's an athletic quarterback. He was kind of a winner. Can run 4.5 speed, smart kid, competitive, playing his best football, played really well in the UFL. And Rourke was good at Indiana. That's for sure. So they got a pretty good quarterback room. But he doesn't think Purdy's being disrespected. He's like, hey, look, this, people have jobs to do. They have opinions. The media, the NFL's gotten to it's like John's smart. He's not going to sit there, he doesn't. The people who cover your sport are not supposed to be the enemy just because they have an opinion that doesn't necessarily jive with what your plan is. So it's like to get mad at those people is really, it's like it's pointing your unhappiness in the wrong direction. You might be unhappy that you've got injuries. You're going to blame Tom Brady because he says stay with Mac Jones. You're going to blame Richard Sherman, who's like, hey man, it's hard to win in this league. Ride with the hot hand. Jones just completed 85%, and the week before that, 69%. Now, they're not driving the ball down the field, and that's bothersome. They're not creating the space that they want to create. They don't have that dynamic down the field playmaking that I'm sure they covet and they like. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that their equation is not good for that. They don't have a line that can block. They don't have receivers that can separate. They don't have receivers that have vertical ability. I mean, it's a slow receiving core and kind of a subpar offensive line. So, you can't sit there and just be like, it's all the quarterback. We just take Jones out, put Purdy in. Suddenly, we're Air Coryell. No, probably not. Probably not. You still got to be able to pass protect. You still got to have somebody get open deep, right? It's not like, go watch the film. Tell me if you see a bunch of guys open deep. I haven't seen that this year. So I don't think Purdy's getting disrespected, and Lynch didn't buy that either. He's like, no, he's not being disrespected. These guys have opinions. They're going to share their opinions. But I did think that was the most interesting part of this interview because out of nowhere, he's like, yeah, we really like Adrian Martinez. So maybe Martinez is showing some really good things. And today I'm going to ask Kubiak about what he likes about Adrian Martinez and what Adrian Martinez is showing them, because it's pretty clear Lynch was touting Martinez and his abilities. So it sounds like, when it was Mac Jones, Brock wasn't even the backup and Adrian Martinez was the backup. Now, Mac Jones is going to be the backup. So I don't know if we're ever going to see Adrian Martinez, to be honest, on the field this year, maybe next summer, maybe in the springtime. But we'll definitely ask Kubiak about Martinez later on today. They said, hey, John, this Arizona team's actually got more injuries than you guys. And John's like, hey, we don't wish that on anybody, and it's tough. And, that's he said, hey, we're starting to get healthy over here, and that's a good thing. And just kind of steered clear of that one. He called the Cardinals a well-coached team that's been in every game. I mean, I don't know if they were in every game because they just got their doors blown off by Seattle. They fell behind like 35-0. So I don't know if they were in every game. They weren't really in that game, but they've been in a lot of games this year. And Shanahan said it earlier too, which is that, man, I mean, they're probably the equal of the Niners. I mean, they could have the same record as the Niners. They're 3-6, but they could easily be, a 6-win team. if things broke differently. So, a lot of mutual respect for Gannon and for, John's like, hey, they got a good special teams unit. They got a good defense. I don't know. We'll see if they have a good defense. They couldn't stop Seattle's run last week at all. Seattle ran for almost 200 yards. So we'll see how good their defense is, especially without Mac Wilson, who has already been deemed out by Jonathan Gannon. They asked him about Jacoby Brissett, and he's like, we played Brissett with New England just last year. He's always efficient. He keeps them in games. You better have Niners better have proper respect for Jacoby Brissett, because he'll beat you. He'll beat you. And if you can get beat by ice cold CJ Stroud behind his horrible line with his, group of rookie receivers, then Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch with Trey McBride, who might be the best tight end going right now, is plenty. And you better put some heat on him. The one thing about Jacoby Brissett is he does take a lot of sacks. If you look at the numbers, he holds the ball in the pocket and he gives you an opportunity to sack him. But if you have as little pressure on the quarterback as the Niners have, that could put an enormous amount of pressure on the secondary if he just holds the ball in the pocket and doesn't get rid of it and just sits there and surveys the field and surveys the field and surveys the field. I mean, sometimes it's better when you have those quarterbacks that have that internal clock and they want to get it out. Sometimes your pass rush, your lack of pass rush isn't highlighted. But with these quarterbacks that like to hang in the pocket like Brissett does and just let things open up downfield, there could be a couple plays here where this guy's got 8, 9, 10 seconds to survey the field and just totally break down your young secondary. So somehow, some way, they got to have a way to send either some free runners at the quarterback if they can't get home with their front four. They got to have some plan beyond their front four getting to Brissett. If Brissett feels the pressure, he'll throw picks. Especially without Marvin Harrison Jr., Zay Jones. I mean, that's going to hurt. He'll probably hold the ball, but, man, you got to pressure him. If you don't pressure him, he's a good enough quarterback. He will carve you up. And if this Niner defense gets carved up by Jacoby Brissett, wow. I mean, all bets are off as far as how many games they can win the rest of the way. They had no rush against Stafford. If they have no rush against Brissett and Brissett beats them, oh, my God. It'll be a 5-alarm fire in 49er land. Why? Because that means that Daniel Jones can do that, and Cam Ward can do that, and Dylan Gabriel might be able to do that, and everybody might be able to carve you up if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, and Brissett's going to be a good measuring stick on Sunday. They asked him about Jonathan Gannon. He's like, yeah, man, the guy's got a good defense, and they do. The Arizona defensive line, I don't know about the health of Walter Nolan, but the Arizona defensive line's good. And they're going to beat the 49er offensive line. I'm pretty sure about that. Now, can the Niners run the ball and make this a referendum on can the Cardinals stop the run without Mac Wilson? The Ohio State linebacker, the rookie, is a good player for Arizona. But he also is a rookie. And, I'm not sure if he's fully capable of stepping in there and just becoming Mac Wilson. Mac Wilson was a major factor in the first matchup between the Niners and the Cardinals. He's just a really good, aggressive, run-stuffing linebacker. And now they're going to, he's out of there, and they're going to lean on Cody Simon, their 4th-round pick out of Ohio State. Now, Simon's a good player, and that was a really good 4th-round draft choice. But we'll see. I mean, you can fool him. He's young. He hasn't played a lot. So he'll make some bad reads. I think, it'll be interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan can turn him into the conflict defender in the pass game. And then they asked John on the way out, hey, man, have you been to a Sharks game? I'm not sure. That was kind of a random one, but yeah. He said, no, haven't been to a Sharks game, but I'd love to get down there. I didn't realize that Mike Greer, the Sharks GM, is the brother of Chris Greer, who just got fired as the Dolphins GM. That's got to be a first. It's got to be a first. 2 guys in the same family that were general managers in different sports at the pro level. That's got to be a first. Nobody's ever been a GM and their brother was also a GM, but in a different sport. And there probably are examples of guys, relatives who, I mean, the Manasian brothers, right? Perry and Zach, both in the front offices in baseball, both have been GMs. So, but that's the same sport. This is two different sports. This is hockey and NFL football. So, I thought that was interesting. Chris Greer and Mike Greer, brothers, and Chris just got dumped by the Dolphins, but he's had a long career as a personnel guy in the NFL, and Mike, the GM of the San Jose Sharks. So there you go. A little bit of John Lynch and what he had to say, and a little discussion there on what Lynch said. Some weeks there's a lot more to it. I mean, some weeks there's lots and lots and lots of data. This week it was kind of a in and out, not a very quick interview. And maybe there was a time crunch today, but they didn't go quite as deep or get to nearly as many topics as they normally do. All right, let's hit our supers here. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Habis Law. We always do our Habis Law supers, and we'll put the Habis Law thing up there. And thanks to Habis Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Love Habis Law. They do an incredible job. Omar and Tarek Habis are great guys. They're rooted right here in the community, and they're great PI attorneys. Bottom line is, sometimes in life you need a good attorney. And if you do, Habis Law is for you. They will fight to make it right. 1-800-INJURED is their number. When you get hurt, the insurance companies try to dodge. They try to avoid paying you. They try to avoid every avenue of giving you the compensation that you deserve and have earned because of the injuries and the accident. And Habis Law makes sure they pay attention and that they pay up. They know the insurance company playbook. They've been battling and beating insurance companies for decades. So they're official partners of the Giants, the Earthquakes, the Sharks, San Jose State, Santa Clara. They're very much rooted here in Northern California. Great guys, Omar and Tarek Habis. If you need someone in your corner, call them. Call the firm insurance companies. Hope you never call, and that's Habis Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit them on the web at habislaw.com, HABBAS law.com, 1-800-INJURED. Once again, Habis Law. They will fight to make it right. All right, let's go to the supers, and we actually have kind of a lot here. Thank you guys for all these supers out of nowhere. We got 11 of them in this brief video that we're doing here. Not video, live stream. MSQ says, how has Purdy been looking in practice? Your point of view. I shared that with you before. I think he looks better than he looked a month ago, and that's really all Shanahan committed to. How's Brock looking? I asked him yesterday. How's Brock looking? He's getting better every week. I think there's truth in that. He is getting better every week, and I think his accuracy is definitely better. So he's learned to throw the ball and find his release point through the pain of the toe. But the mobility still looks pained. I mean, he's going to run when he has to run, but he looks sore. And his startup, his first two steps are nothing like his first two steps this summer. He's got a very ginger first two steps. It's a slow build, and that's not what makes his speed good. He's got the 1.54 10-yard split in the 40, which means his first couple steps have been explosively fast, and I don't see that right now. But the biggest thing that the biggest difference from this summer to right now, to me, is the arm strength and his ability to plant and drive. And you can see he doesn't have that right now. He's trying to throw around that. Watch the film of him from practice yesterday and look at his back right foot. That's your anchor point for a right-handed quarterback. Your right foot is your anchor point. It's his right toe. So his anchor point is bringing him soreness, and he can't anchor. And so he's not anchoring. And if you watch him, he's learned to kind of throw without anchoring, but it's kind of a little bit of a A little bit more of a 3/4 release. It's a little bit lower release. It's a little bit more of a sling. It's a little bit less, drive up through the shoulder and down on the ball. It looks more kind of a side slinger. He just looks like he's slinging it. He doesn't look like he's planting and driving. Now, I'm not a quarterback coach, but I've been to enough football practices and I've watched this guy enough to know what it's supposed to look like and what it's currently looking like. So I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical. I know they want to bring him back. I know he wants to be back. I know they want a little bit more of a downfield passing attack. But this guy doesn't look like the guy we saw this summer. Doesn't. Not to me. And I'll be shocked if he has really good results. I think this is going to be a rough. I think he's going to have rust. I think he's going to struggle to throw the ball deep. I think he's going to struggle to throw the ball outside the numbers. Once he can't really, really focus on exactly how he wants to release. I think his accuracy is also going to be spotty. The escapability is not going to quite be there. And the arm strength, I don't think is going to be there. So, this is the thing. You got to be 100% to play football. There's very few positions that you can get by. I mean, maybe you get by a guard or something. Oh, you know what? I'm banged up. I'm super depleted. I'm still out there staying in front of my guy. But corners, receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, you can't be 75%. You can't succeed in the NFL at 80%. You just can't. So I they brought him back in week 2. They asked Shanahan, obviously it was too soon. Cohn asked him yesterday, well, you brought him back in week 2 and you thought it was the right time, and now you're saying it's the right time now. What's the difference? Which was a genius question. And he said, you know what? I've seen him, what's your decision now based on, I think was the question. He's like, what I've seen from him the last 6 weeks. So Shanahan seems to feel like there's been enough growth and improvement in Purdy in the last 6 weeks to put him out there. So there we go. We're going to see him. Let's hit a couple more here. Lyrics Media drops a 50 spot. Wow. Lyrics Media. Who knew? He says, hi, Larry. I'd like to get your thoughts on why you believe Purdy is better than Mac, even a healthy Brock, just from the eye test. The only thing Brock has over Mac is the mobility and the ability to scramble. Mac is the better passer. I agree. I think I think Purdy's very accurate, but I think Jones is more accurate. I think Purdy's got a good arm. I think Jones has a better arm. But there's more to that. There's more to playing quarterback than that. That next level movement ability is really what separates the greats, that top tier. Only Burrow of the top tier guys doesn't really have that mobility. Lamar can move. Hurts can move. Mahomes can move. Josh Allen can move. Why did the Niners want to get beyond Jimmy G? Because they didn't believe in him anymore, and they were looking for somebody who also had the movement ability. And that's why Brock, they want a quarterback who can process at the line of scrimmage what he sees and have that next level mobility and movement ability. And it's like, guys, to say the only thing Brock has on Mac is mobility, Brock's also an insanely great competitor. I think he's an inspiration to the other guys on the team. I mean, he's their hardest worker. He's tough. We saw it in the second half. They don't go to the Super Bowl unless they beat Green Bay, unless they beat Detroit. And they wouldn't have beaten Detroit if Purdy didn't run. So I think that mobility, if you don't have mobility, defensive coordinators can kind of take away any singular down they want to take away from you. If you have that mobility, it's harder to do. So I just think Purdy's got that next level mobility, and I think that mobility means a lot. I think also he's much better throwing on the run. I think he's much better at being aggressive down the field. He takes more shots down the field. I I think there's a lot to like. I mean, and mobility is not, it's not just like, it's a little extra. No, it matters. It really does matter. So I would say mobility probably is the primary thing, but I also think Brock's an insane competitor and he's a better downfield thrower than Mac. He's more willing to throw the ball down the field. Now, part of that could be the Niners receivers, while Mac's been in there, have just been super slow. Maybe that's part of it. So maybe I'm judging Mac unfairly. But I think Mac, he's the FBS record holder in completion percentage. Now, how did he become that? That's a guy who plays, he takes on, he operates underneath. He takes what the defense gives him. I like Mac Jones a lot. I think Mac Jones is a really good NFL quarterback. I think he's showing it. But I think Purdy's mobility puts him on a different level. I really do. And I think people just have forgotten. Go, if you don't remember, go Google or go to YouTube and look up Niners Lions NFC Championship game and watch the second half of that thing. And watch how many times everybody was covered and Brock had to run and he made plays. They won that game. I don't think that can be undersold. It's not just like, it's just like a little side thing. No, it's a major thing. And that's where he's better. Great competitor. And mobility. Those are the two factors. There's probably a few more too. Stefan says maybe sign Linderbaum this summer in free agency. You're talking about the Ravens center. The Ravens have a bunch of free agents. Isaiah Likely is a free agent. Linderbaum's a free agent. They got like 6 or 7 key free agents. So they won't be able to sign everybody. The Niners have invested in the past in center. Alex Mack, Weston Richburg. Linderbaum was great at Iowa. He's been great in the NFL. He's a tone-setting center. It's an interesting idea. It's going to cost you, though. I think probably $15 million a year, probably multiple years, probably 3 years, $45 million, something like that, with more guaranteed, a big sizable amount guaranteed. I'd be interested. He'd be on the short list of guys I'd be interested in for sure. Ernberg says, can't wait for the 2+ interception comeback game for Brock Purdy. Wow. Yeah, I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong. Stefan, Woolen and Mafe are not re-signing. Good poach for free agency. I like both those. In fact, Stefan, I'm with you on both those. Woolen is a big corner who's, absolutely exactly what Gus Bradley likes in corners. And Gus Bradley, if Solly gets a job, may be the defensive coordinator next year. And as far as Maffe's had a down year this year. He's only got 1 sack. But Kansas City was hot to trot to trade for him at the trade deadline. And Brett Veach knows talent. And Mafe has a phenomenal first step. And he can play the run a little bit. So, yes, those are very good names. I would definitely be interested in both those guys. I mean, in a rush and cover game, that's a big coverage corner and a really exciting speed rusher off the edge. So yeah, I like both those games. I like both those names quite a bit. Woolen, I think you got to investigate a little bit about the guy because, there's some people that cover Seattle that suggest that maybe he's not the most conscientious, hardworking football player. But his physique, his talent is off the charts. Both those guys are raw talents who have high end potential. So I like both those guys. I'd be very interested. Big Hurt drops a 20 spot. He says if Brock is 80% or more, he'll be better for 2 reasons. One, his mobility will give the wide receivers an extra second to get down the field. 2, it forces the defense to stay honest instead of just pinning their ears back and rushing. If he can run, that's the big one. If he can run, if he gets to the top of his drop and he looks like he wants to sit there and build a house there, that won't be a good sign. And that's what I saw at a few weeks ago. He would drop back to pass. He's standing there. He looks like he does not want to move. Where, Brock, for the most part, has always looked like a guy who wasn't just willing to move, but even eager at times to move. He looks pained when he's running. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Can he escape If he can't escape, then the turf toe is going to be a footnote, and we're going to be talking about crushing major injuries that are way out, way more vitally important than turf toe. So, you got to be able to protect yourself, and that's the determination they've made, that he can protect himself. I got to see that. If we get into this game and this guy can't protect himself, oh my God. I mean, there's no end to how many times I'm going to call out the 49ers for this. You're going to invest $181 million guaranteed in a quarterback, and then with turf toe, and you're going to put him out there when he lacks the speed to protect himself against NFL defensive linemen. I mean, that is a level of idiocy that if that's the way this thing comes down, I'll be ripping, because that's just craziness. That's craziness. I mean, could you imagine if you bought, you spent like $200,000 on a Bentley, and then you took it mudding in the Delta or something? I mean, it's like, what? You just spent $200,000 on a Bentley and you just took it mudding? Or you buy some amazing, Pagini sports car and you're driving it over rock formations, and you're destroying the suspension. I mean, what are you doing? And if they put this quarterback out there and he can't protect himself, there's no end to the criticism that they will have deserved, earned, and will get. Niner Cali boy says, Larry, I tried Pig in a Pickle last Saturday. Brisket chili was fire. The brisket was a little dry, though, and the ribs were pretty skimp. I'm not sure what skimp means. All in all, good, but not great. Okay. All right, Niner Cali boy. It's an honest, not everybody's, it's food, right? Everybody loves it a little different. And barbecue is one of those things where, if it's guesswork. How long do you put it in the smoker? I would say give it another try. I'm glad you like the brisket chili with the real chunks of brisket in there, and oh my God, it's got a little fire. You get that sweat on the top lip eating the brisket chili. Also, I would say maybe you probably didn't go for the marbled side of the brisket. You may have gone with the other side. The other side's a little drier. Maybe try the marbled next time. But thanks for checking it out, Niner Cali boy. And join us on the December 7th. We'll be there for the full day at Pig in a Pickle, enjoying brisket chili, and everything else, and watching some ball and having our Krug Show meet and greet. So stop by on December 7th. At Pig in a Pickle, not in Emeryville, but in Corte Madera. Stefan says, who wins the NBA MVP this year? Wow. That's random. I don't even get into the NBA until Christmas. I mean, I'm a Warrior fan, and I'm laughing. I mean, I'm laughing at the Warriors right now. It's like all these people that were like, the Warriors are going to go to the finals. What, the finals? You are high. They are ancient. I mean, they're literally driving cross country on a 20-year-old car with 150,000 miles on it. It's like, are you getting across country? No, you're not. And I like how it took, I said, hey, man, wait to evaluate this team until after 20 games. I should have said until after 10 games, because they absolutely have died. They can't win on the road. They got to win, but in San Antonio, but they, for the most part, can't win on the road. They won an opening night on the road. They've gotten their doors blown off on the road almost every time since. It was an amazing comeback in San Antonio. Steph had a big third quarter. But they ain't going anywhere. I would say they're going to be in the play-in. They're going to be like a 7 or an 8 seed. They'll be in that play-in, and they'll check out. I mean, it's a young man's game. OKC. It's OKC's time. Warriors' time has come and gone. And here's the only thing about that is that the Warrior people, I've talked to a number of them privately. When the cameras aren't around, when the microphones aren't around, they'll be like, yeah, we've already done our winning. We're not going to win anymore. We're just playing out the string. We're spinning our wheels. That's what they'll tell you. They'll be honest with you off mic. But you put them in front of a TV camera or a microphone, I'll tell you, they got a shot. They got no shot. No shot. Steph, ancient. Draymond, ancient. And then they decided to go for Jimmy Butler. He's ancient. And then they decide to add Al Horford. He's ancient. I mean, it's like, did you really think that you needed to add 2 more really old guys to your really old mix? I mean, that's just, and you think that's going to win it for you? I mean, it's a young man's game. Houston, way better. Denver, way better. I mean, and there's other teams. There'll be other teams in that. Obviously, OKC, way better. They're just not on that level. And it's going to be kind of a painful year, I think, for some of the Warrior fans. Ravi Narwat says, do all teams gaslight this well through the media like the 49ers, or are they just really good at it? No, they're really good at it. And I don't know if they're gaslighting. It's just they've got this, they're serving multiple masters. We got to be happy with the players, and we got Brock's got to be happy, and JJ's got to be happy, and this guy's got to be happy, and that guy's got to be happy. And it's like, yeah, they just got a lot of things going on. I mean, you need to, if you really want to know what's going on with this team, you got to know the backstories. JJ wanted a contract. JJ's showed up big in the Super Bowl, and he hasn't gotten paid. He wants to get paid. You got to know the backstories. And he held out, and then they gave him a few more bucks, and he's going to walk at the end of the year, and they don't want to extend him, but they don't want to upset him, and they don't want to trade him, and they don't. A million things going on. So gaslighting, it's just there when you're juggling, 9 balls in the air and trying to compete at the NFL level and then trying to image everything. So you don't want to offend Brock. You don't want to offend Mac. You don't want to offend JJ. You don't want to, you don't want to, got all your defense is falling apart. You don't have you don't have the bullets in the gun. They're going through a lot of different things, but you're calling it gaslighting. I think that gets overused, but I hear what you're saying. They do seem to have a lot going on, though. Joseph Ernberg, 10 weeks is how you would grade out 10 weeks in how you would grade out the last draft. 10 weeks in, how would you grade out the last draft? It's amazing what a comma will do for you. How would I grade out the last draft? That's a good question. I'll give you some information on that while we're here. Mikael Williams, torn ACL. I wouldn't have made that pick. He's got 1 sack. He's played 409 snaps. He's got 1 sack. I wouldn't have made that pick. But I can see the value of Mikael as an interior, as a kind of a combo platter. But he's got to be surrounded by other great players. He was at Georgia. And unfortunately, the Niners should have drafted Jalen Walker. And instead, they took this guy. Jalen Walker's a star. He's going to go to Pro Bowls. He's going to be one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He was on the board, and he can rush the passer, and they need pass rush. But they went for Mikael because he's kind of he could be the inside, outside, whatever guy. He fits their scheme and whatnot. Mikael's going to be okay, but now he's coming off a torn ACL. I don't know how he's going to come back from that. He doesn't have pass rush moves. I said that on draft day. People were like, you're so negative. Am I negative, or am I just telling you the truth? It's like, is it negative, or is it just noticing? Mikael Williams has no pass rush moves. I said it in April. People were like, you're negative. I said, well, okay, well, we'll see what the season comes around. Then he started not sacking the quarterback, and everybody's telling me how great he was. Krug, you don't get it. He's awesome. He's really awesome. Yeah, he doesn't have any sacks or tackles, but he's really awesome. So I didn't like that pick, but, he's a big, useful defensive lineman, and once he gets healthy, he'll help. Alfred Collins, didn't love that pick either. Thought they needed to go offensive line, but they went defensive line, and I do like Collins. To me, Collins is 2 years from now, when he fully gets what he's doing and he understands the scheme and he gets his body to the right weight, not height, but right weight and proportion that he wants and that they want. I think he's going to be a wrecking ball. I love Collins. I love his attitude. I've talked to him a few times. It's like just a no nonsense. I want to get better. I want to get better. I want to get better. Very serious young guy about his craft, but also fun-loving guy. Really like him. Nick Martin's played 48 snaps. Okay, so that he hasn't played at all, and I still love that pick. I just think I think that when you see Nick Martin out there, you're going to really like him. I mean, heck, we already saw him in the preseason, but right now he's not out there. But just remember this: D. Winters at this same point was giving you nothing, absolutely nothing, and now there's people that think that D. Winters is great. Now, I don't think D. Winters is great. He's missed a lot of tackles. He doesn't wrap up anybody. But he's definitely better than he was as a rookie. So sometimes these things take a little time. It's not everything's instantaneous. I would say the plan when you're drafting rookies is just plan on half a season. You're going to get half a season. You got half a season of McKell, and then he checked out. Collins over the course of the full year is going to give you a half year. Martin is going to get in the lineup and get out there on the field pretty soon, I would imagine. He's going to give you a half a year. There's very few guys that are like Bryant Young who can start week one and then start in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just a rarity. Upton Stout's played 343 snaps. He's afforded the luxury of making mistakes but staying on the field where Martin is not. So I don't like the inconsistency there, but they need Stout. But I love Stout. I think Stout's a really good player. Strong, fast. He's small, but he's really good. CJ West has played 128 snaps. I think that's the biggest surprise, that he has not played more. But he's getting caught up in a numbers game. He doesn't give you a lot of pass rush. It's a technique-rich position. He's still learning technique. I really think he's going to be a good player. I'm convinced he's going to be a really good player. Jordan Watkins, I'm also convinced is going to be a really good player, but he's only played 17 snaps. And to me, this is the one when this guy gets out on the field, there's going to be some explaining to do, because this guy did it in the SEC, which is the best football conference in America. He had 9 touchdowns last year. This guy can do it right now, and he's just not getting any run. He's 17 snaps. Put him on the field, throw him the ball, and this guy's going to be one of your better receivers. Love Jordan Watkins. Jordan James, terrible pick. Great running back draft. I was all excited about Kyle Monangi. He went in the 7th round out of Rutgers to the Bears. They took this guy in the 5th round. He's not fast. He's been hurt all summer. He hasn't done anything. They insist he's great. I'm going to hold out grading him until I actually see him, but it's a bad sign. It's a bad sign. When you basically do absolutely nothing and nobody's really knows anything about you, because you've done so little. And you sat out week after week after week, at times with finger injuries. I don't have much hope for Jordan James. Other people do. I don't. Siegel, I really like. He's played 437 snaps. He started 7 games. I really like Siegel. I think he's the future at free safety. Curtis Rourke on the NFI list with a knee injury. That was an intriguing 7th round pick. Connor Colby's played 463 snaps. He struggled, but I think he's got a future as an NFL starter. Junior Bergen was a bad pick. Practice squad guy. He's not NFL. Not an NFL guy. What's interesting is in week 5, when they played the Rams, 6 rookies played at least 33 snaps. 4 started. In last week against the Rams, only CJ West and Upton Stout played big roles of the rookies. So they've had less of an impact in this last game than they did earlier in the year. In weeks 1 through 5, the Niners rookies played 1,294 snaps. These are Nick Wagner stats from ESPN.com. That's 6th in the NFL. In weeks 6 through 10, that number fell from 1,294 snaps played to 878 snaps played. That's 17th in the NFL. Niners defensive rookies have combined for 124 tackles, 2 sacks, 8 TFLs, 1 forced fumble, 4 fumble recoveries. That's great. 4 PBUs and 21 pressures. So, how would I grade the draft? Well, it's an incomplete right now, but I would say I would give it a solid B- for volume, just because you got good volume there. I mean, I think you're between Williams, Collins, Martin, Stout, West, Watkins, Siegel, Colby. You got 8 guys right there. Then we even count the undrafted guys like Seabass. So you got 9. I mean, I think when you look back at this draft, you're going to see, I think McKell's going to be a starter. Collins is going to be a starter. Martin's going to be a starter. Stout's going to be a starter. West is going to be a starter. I think Siegel's going to be a starter. And I think Watkins has potential to be a third wide receiver. And there's a chance that eventually Colby's a starter. So I think over time, this is going to grade out very highly. The Niners volume draft of the Bill Walsh era was the 86 draft. He got 8 starters. I think he may wind up with 5 to 8 starters out of this haul before it's all said and done. I can't give him a higher grade because I think, once again, the McKell pick is just, could have had Jalen Walker, could have had Tyler Warren, could have had Walter Nolan, could have had better guys than McKell. But overall, I would say I'd give it a B-. All right. Couple more here. We've got this one from Ryan Alloy. Injuries this season have already compromised a portion of next season. Bosa, Williams, maybe Fred. Why add Purdy to that list? Risk reward seems off. I agree. What do you but they're going to say, hey, look, it's you sign up for the season and, he's signed up to play. He wants to play. If you said to me, how do I think it's going to go? I think he's going to play this game, have a recurrence, and be done for the year. I think you're going back to Mac Jones here in the next week or two. My guess is he can't get through. My guess is he can't get through more than a game or 2. That would be it. Game or 2, and then it will come back. Our pod says, are we looking at watching the Rams or Seahawks against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in our goddamn home stadium? Yep. Yeah. How bitter is that going to be? How bitter is it going to be to watch Sam Darnold hoist the Super Bowl trophy with some thoroughly mediocre Seattle team that the Niners beat in Seattle in your home stadium? You think you didn't like it when Richard Sherman ate a turkey leg at the 50? Watching Sam Darnold and, Michael McDonald hoist the Lombardi at Levi's is going to make me puke. But yeah, get ready for it. Ernberg, Rams will win the Super Bowl against Kansas City at Levi's. Rams are our daddies. Oh, wow. Hate to see that. But Les Snead has done a better job than our guys have. Anthony says, why do you think Kyle and Lynch aren't admitting seeing what you are on the practice field during Brock's sessions? Do you think Brock is rushing himself? Yeah, I do. I think Brock Purdy wants to get out there. I think he understands that, Steve Young, who is a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of Brock's confidants, advised him on the radio 2 weeks ago to just get out there and play, even if he's hurt. And I think Brock, on some levels, listening to Steve. And Steve's line, and he said it to me many times, is, hey, if you're not in the huddle, you're not in the huddle. So he's a believer that you got to get in the huddle. And I think Brock is bought into that. Brock's no wuss. He's a tough guy, and he's wanting to ascend to leadership and lead this team. And he's got a toe injury, and he's compromised, but he doesn't want the guys to think he's soft. He doesn't want the guys to think he's not a leader. So yeah, I think he's pushing to get back out there. And I'm sure if you watch somebody else kind of slowly but surely kind of take your job from you, if Mac Jones had another 2 or 3 games completing 80% or 85% of his passes, there may be a realistic conversation of who do you want? Who's the guy? Who's not the guy? Who's the better guy? So I think Brock absolutely is aware of that and wants to get out there. I don't think it's only about that. I think he's got, good intentions. He wants to lead his team to victory. He wants to be there. He understands he's making a ton of money. He understands I'm making a grip of cash and there's expectations, and he understands the fans want to, expect him to play and that the team expects him to play. So yeah, I think he's pushing himself out there and saying, I can do this. I can play through this pain. But if he doesn't play effectively, it's all for naught. I don't really think Lynch and Shanahan are pushing him, and I don't know. I don't know what they see. I mean, I saw in the week leading into Jacksonville, I literally told you guys, I said, hey, guys, he looks sore. He looks like he can't plant. The ball's coming out high. And what had happened in the game? That was what happened. Why? Because I have no agenda. I'm a Brock Purdy fan. I want Brock Purdy to be a Super Bowl winner. Heck, I'm the guy who said Brock's the guy, Brock's the guy, Brock's the guy. Now I'm going to sit here and say he's not the guy? Or now I'm anti-Brock? I've had people say, you're so pro-Mac. I'm pro anybody who plays as well as Mac Jones played. He's playing well. And Mac Jones is better than a hurt version of Brock Purdy. So I don't know. John and Kyle are sharp football guys. I'm sure they see what I see. But Kyle already said it. He's not going to get better. So it's like you're going to have to get out there probably. So that's where I think they're looking at it. I'd be shocked if they don't see exactly what I see. Shocked. I think they do. I think they're just hoping that he'll be able to get out there and do something good. Or maybe they're also trying to get this out of the way. Hey, we know Brock can't do it. He wants to do it. He's definitely deserves the opportunity to try. We're going to let him try, and we want him to try now because if he's going to try and fail, we got to go back to Mac Jones. We got to have a few weeks to get ready for the playoffs, that kind of thing. So maybe there's something like that at play where they have doubts, but they want to give Purdy the shot, and he doesn't want to just be done for the year right now. So, hey, get out there, see what you can do. But if 2 weeks from now he's done for the year, you heard it here first. Don't be surprised because I think that's what's coming. Anthony says, okay, we got that one. We got a couple more here. Joshua, Aiyuk was close weeks ago, and now nothing is certain. Yeah, he wasn't close weeks ago. That was just Shanahan just talking. He said the other 2 days later, he's like, I just said that. Yeah, it could be any week now, but we don't, he's not ready. So this was a catastrophic injury. Catastrophic means your timelines are not in the 1 year. They're more like year and a half. And it might be a 2-year thing. It might be better to just tuck him away for next year, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to wait till like week 16, 17, or 18, open the practice window, get him active, spot him, and trade him. That's my guess. PWS, thoughts on the Tatsuya, Imai, Tucker, and Alonso rumors. I did spend some time looking at that kid, Imai, and he has a ridiculous strikeout ratio. He's a small righty with a power arsenal. His fastball sits 95. It gets up to 98. He's got a killer slider, an unbelievable splitter. He's got like a 5-pitch mix, and he struck out a ton of guys. He looks very much like a Yamamoto. Now, he is a small righty, and small, I'm talking about small. This guy's 5'9", 5'8". He's small. But he's a small righty with a power arsenal who looks like he could be a big-time starting pitcher. I like him. He's intriguing, really intriguing. Tucker, Alonso, they need right-handed power badly. Alonso, could you imagine if Alonso played for the Giants? It would be unbelievable. If I were the Giants, I would sign Pete Alonso and trade Eldridge for the best package of players I could get because I don't believe in Eldridge. Eldridge is not going to be a major leaguer. Eldridge is, if he is, he's going to be a low average DH. It's like the Giants prospects always evaporate. Marco Luciano is going to be a 5'2", a shortstop. By the time he reaches the major leagues, he's a DH with back problems. That's the Giants right there. Jesse Foppert is going to be an ace. He's out of baseball, did nothing. So Giants prospects, I don't believe in Giants prospects. I never have, just because I've lived a little, as Gary used to say. So, yeah, if I could get Alonso or a Schwarber or another big-time power hitter, put him in the middle of that lineup and trade, Eldridge for, 3 pitchers and an infielder or whatever, I would do it. I don't believe in Eldridge. He's got a massive strike zone. He stands totally straight up. No, he's not. I don't think he's ever going to hit for any kind of average of the big leagues. Joshua, Aiyuk was close weeks ago, and now nothing is certain. Oh, wait, we got that one. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them. We got this one, PWS. Yep, we got all of them. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Habis Law. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.